Hey guys, Brian, Jeff, and Matt back for another Disc Golf Examiner disc review. Today we got a special disc from Latitude 64. What do we got?
We have the Saint Pro.
Cool. So it looks like we have more than one Saint Pro. We're going to do a plastic review for you. 3 different types of plastics. What do we got here, Matt?
We have the Opto-X, the regular Opto, and a Gold Line Saint Pro.
Cool. So each one of these, we're going to see if there's any difference in the flight. What did you think overall? What do you use this for, Matt?
Well, first of all, this is actually one of my top 3 favorite discs. So I bagged 3 of these, and one in each of the plastics, and so I am a huge fan of the Saint Pro. First off, in the Gold Line plastic, I find that this is a little bit more understable than the other plastics. So I really like to use this in the woods. Just throw it on a little hyzer and it flips up the flat and it goes super straight for quite a long time. So I really like that for especially the straight shots through the woods. Then I throw the Opto plastic. This one's a little bit more overstable, so if I throw it on a little bit more of an anhyzer, it'll come back just a little bit at the very end. Once again, really nice for woods shots like we have here in western Pennsylvania. And then, of course, the Opto-X I find to be the most overstable, so if the wind's picking up a little bit around here, I'll generally grab this one for those types of shots.
Very cool. And Jeff, for the first time you've thrown this disc, what did you think of it for an amateur player?
Yeah, I've never thrown the Saint Pro before. I love the Opto-X plastic. That is, I described it as having tensile strength. I don't know if that's the right word. It is one of the most solid discs I've ever had in my hand. And I can see why it's one of your favorites. This disc is amazing.
Very cool. Well, let's go ahead and show you how we got to those conclusions. We'll start it off by going to the profile.
The Saint Pro doesn't really have too much of a dome on it. It is a kind of a flatter top to it. It does have a very shallow rim, mostly because it's a fairway driver, so that also means that it has a thinner rim as well. Really good for smaller hands. And I really like it once it rips out of your hand, just because it does have that smaller rim. And the plastics, the Gold Line plastic is a little bit grippier than the other ones, just how that is. The Opto plastic, it's a little bit more slippery. I feel like it's a little bit more firm than the Gold Line as well. So the Opto-X is actually a mix between the Gold Line and the Opto plastic. So it combines both the grippiness of the Gold Line as well as the firmness of the Opto plastic. When I threw the Opto Saint Pro on a hyzer, it held the hyzer really well, didn't flip up to flat, and just had a really nice reliable fade out to the left.
When I threw the Opto Saint Pro on a hyzer release, it stood right up for me, held that flight nice and straight, and then hyzered out at the end.
When I threw the Gold Line Saint Pro on a hyzer line, ended up flipping up to flat and flew really straight for almost the entire flight.
When I threw the Gold Line Saint Pro on a hyzer release, it held that line the entire flight before finishing out of bounds.
Released on a hyzer, the Opto-X Saint Pro just went straight hyzer, straight to the left for me, right out of the hand. Never flipped up to flat. Fortunately, it hit the road, but that's okay, because I need that one beat in.
When I threw the Saint Pro Opto-X on a hyzer release, real nice, beautiful flight, held that line the entire flight.
When thrown flat, the Opto Saint Pro held the flat flight for quite a while, and at the very end, it ended up hyzering out to the left.
When I threw the Saint Pro on a flat release, it turned over just slightly, ever so slightly for me before coming back.
When I released the Gold Line Saint Pro on a flat release, ended up turning over just a little bit and glided out to the right before eventually kind of hyzering out or coming a little bit more straight.
When I threw the Gold Line Saint Pro on a flat release, held that line fairly straight before finishing out of bounds.
Released flat, the Opto-X Saint Pro flew very straight for a good 300 feet for me before it hyzered out to the left very reliably.
When I threw the Opto-X Saint Pro on a flat release, it held that line good 70% of the flight before turning left and hyzering out.
When I threw the Opto Saint Pro on an anhyzer, it held the anhyzer line for quite a while before trying to pull out of it, but it wasn't overstable enough to actually hyzer out.
When I threw the Opto Saint Pro on an anhyzer release, it held that anhyzer flight for about 80-85% and then slightly came back towards the end.
On an Anheuser, the Gold Line Saint Pro just held the Anheuser for the entire flight. At the end, it kind of hooked up just a little to get a little extra glide out of it.
On an Anheuser release, it held that the entire flight and finished inbounds.
When I released the Opto-X Saint Pro on an Anheuser, it turned to the right really well for a lot of the flight before the overstability took hold and it ended up fading out to flat.
When I threw the Opto-X Saint Pro on an Anheuser release, I got that real nice S flight, real beautiful flight, finishing out predictably left.
And that's how we threw the Latitude 64 Saint Pro in the Opto-X, and Gold Line plastics. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Remember to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, leave comments, and share it. We always appreciate it, guys. And actually, I do want to say a special thank you to Dynamic Discs for sending us the Saint Pro here in the Opto plastic for review today. So, all right, guys. Well, until next week, keep banging those chains. Whoa, you guys are pretty good at that.